What's happening, fiends and friends? Sorry I've been away for so long. I know the last time we spoke, well, I spoke to you on video, I did say that I was going to make a video all about is Turtle Mania back. Unfortunately, life just got in the way. I've got a small one on the way, as well as already having a 1-year-old daughter, and I had so much going on with work that I just had to focus on that. So I do apologise. I know I promised a video which I haven't came through with yet, but I do plan on doing it, so do not disappear. I don't know why I said don't disappear, because it's not like you go anywhere anyway. Just keep your eyes open for that next video. Anyway, sorry about the way this video's shot. It'll probably look horrible. I'm actually standing in a bunch of baby stuff because we're trying to get everything down from our loft, aka for Americans the attic, to bring it all down so that we're ready for baby number 2, which is due less than a month away. And then we've got our 1-year-old's second birthday as well as Christmas coming up, so it's a bit mental. Anyway, that's enough about me. You aren't watching these videos to find anything out about me. As always, you know what I want to talk about, and that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, anyone who is a shellhead, anyone in the comic world really knows what happened recently, and that's we finally got the one book I've been talking about non-stop, The Last Ronin. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to break this video up, and I'm going to do it in 2 ways. At the very beginning, I'll go for a sort of non-spoiler review, kind of let you guys who haven't read it yet kind of get a feel for it, maybe see if you want to pick it up, and then I'll tell you spoilers. And at that point, if you do not want this book spoiled for you, or if you've not read it, turn the video off, come back at a later time. Anyway, let's get into the video, guys. So yeah, The Last Ronin, the most anticipated Turtles book I've seen in years. I could be wrong on that, but personally, I really wanted it. All the shellheads I know wanted it, but I've seen a lot of people who were not into Turtles speaking about this book, and a lot of people ask me questions. So I'll cover the first one, and I'm sure I've covered it many a times, and I'll say it in my messages all the time to people, and it's the biggest question to ask. Do I need to be reading the current Turtles run or any Turtles run to get this book? Simple question, simple answer. No, you do not. This book is a kind of standalone on its own. Now, this book was originally wrote ages ago. I believe they said it was in the 80s that they had this original idea. They just kind of put it together. So there will be Easter eggs in this. I already believe that there is one, considering one of the villains that came up now today with the Mirage comics, but I don't actually think you need to be reading any of these comics to understand it. It's just one of these futuristic turtle books. It's kind of like how Old Man Logan was. You don't really need to be a huge Wolverine person to get it. There's a lot of Easter eggs in it, but you don't have to be completely into Marvel and X-Men to understand what's going on, or any of that world. So this book was absolutely brilliant. It's a nice thicker book, as you may be able to see with my rubbish camera. So it's not like it's just a single issue. There will be 5 issues of these, but they're going to be nice and hefty issues. I can imagine the last one actually being extremely thick, or even in the middle. This book was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed the futuristic take. Now, Eastman himself mentioned it in an interview recently, or well, an article, whatever you want to call it. It's hard to really tell what's an interview and what's an article these days, because a lot of time they get mixed up. But what he was saying was, we as comic fans, and most fans generally, love the idea of an old-time superhero. Like, let's get into the future, let's see where they've landed up. And that's generally what it is usually it's a bit easier to play with. You know that there's a big chance that people are going to die off. It's not like when you're reading a normal comic and someone dies off and you think, well, he's dead now, but we're going to see him come back in a couple of months. When you're reading the older ones, someone can die and that's it. End of. Story done and dusted. So, I mean, you've seen it a lot. The Old Man Logan, one of my favourite Marvel books. Again, it was reading this article, it kind of opened my eyes that the older books do really sit well with me, because it's even the Dark Knight Returns. I absolutely love the books. So I guess I kind of could see where he was coming from, that we enjoy this. So I can see that's maybe why this has got a pull, not just because it's Turtles and Turtles are getting a bit of hype just now, but also because this is a futuristic. This is us finding out who's died, where's this world going to end in the long run. I mean, it's not necessarily set in stone. The whole thing is with these is their what ifs. So this book itself has got to tell you who the Last Ronin is. It does come up in this book. Now, I won't mention who or what until we're into the spoiler thing, but this is a definite big pickup on this book, is finding out who that Last Ronin is. I know a lot of people just want to find out. There's probably people that have searched it just to find that out. It's generally that it's based on a extremely futuristic world. Now, like I said, this beginning part isn't spoilerific, so I do not want to get into it too much. But if you haven't picked it up, please do. Honestly, it's such a good book. It's one of these ones that if you like futuristic stories, you're going to love it. If you like a wee bit of a darker story, you're going to love it. Hell, if you like turtles, you're definitely going to love it because it involves the turtles. So there's not really much I can say without spoiling it, guys. So please, if you haven't checked it out yet and you don't want spoilers, check it out now, because I can assure you I've already been sent messages from people that have... Luckily I'd read it before I got the messages, and it just spoiled the first one completely, which, like I said, luckily I'd read it so it wasn't that big a deal. But I can imagine what it's like someone trying to hide away from this story. It's not going to be one of these stories to hide away from. It's going to be absolutely huge. Anyway, I'm not very good at reviews, so I do apologise. Most of this is me just saying how great Turtles are and how it's futuristic. Stuff you really knew. But the big thing I have to emphasise is if you're not reading Turtles, pick it up. Please pick it up. Anyway, let's just get into the spoiler stuff, because that's where I can actually talk. Most of this video's been me rambling, so let's get into spoilerific stuff, guys. So, we start at the beginning. We've got our lone turtle, the last Ronin, kind of wading through mud, dirt, just kind of an outlaw of some sort of city. Once he gets up, is this crazy walled off city. Like I said, this complete futuristic look. And once he gets in, and I'm loving the Easter eggs, because there's so many little things. I mean, they're not necessarily there to jump out on you, but I think in my third reading there was a lot of things that just kind of popped to me. One being the flying cars, but one of them's actually the Turtles van, which was pretty cool. You know, so it's not got all the tassels and all the cool weapons and that, but generally it was the same shape, which was enough to make me like, you know what, I like it. At least you're doing wee things like that, which go a long way in my eyes. So yeah, like I said, you've got all these flying, really kind of like a Back to the Future style cars where they're all flying about, which I absolutely loved. They really are going with the whole, like, this tech is blowing up and this world's massive. So this city's kind of walled off. He breaks in, gets into the area. Once he's getting there, he's quite obviously got a plan, but it looks like, to be honest, the more I read it, the more it felt like he hadn't really been in this city in a long time, because he seemed like he knew as much of this world as we do, which is absolutely mental. I've seen a lot of people mention that when you do get the sort of vast look of the city, that the main building that he's trying to get into looks a wee bit like the Shredder helmet. That is where the foot are, or the so-called foot. It's like cyborg foot soldiers, which is pretty damn cool, because we actually have a point where he's fighting one, he gets the head off, and then his ghost brothers kind of notice. Again, that's one thing I just kind of skipped there. So we noticed in the preview that he was talking to someone. Now, I spoke to a few people and I said it's probably got to be his brothers, but they're not there. It might be in his head. We still never really got an answer if that's their spirits or if it is in his head. I kind of like that idea. Again, it's keeping more questions. I think this book was very good for, here's some of the answers that you wanted, but we're not giving you exactly all the answers so that you keep on reading, which is good. For me, that's what a good pull of a book is every time that you get an answer, it's not necessarily fully developed, so there's a chance that it can go either way. Now, there was a couple of times in it that kind of made me think that spirits were spirits just because of their knowledge, but then again, if you've spent that many years with your brothers, there's a big chance that you're going to know something in their terms. So, like, when someone mentioned, he's talking about when he meets the foot, like, oh, this is some sort of robo ninja cop, and then he gets one of his brothers saying it looks like a cyborg. Now, if you've been with Donnie that amount of times, apologies. So Donnie's probably dead at this point, right? So again, this is spoilers. So if you've got to this point and you went, I've told you spoilers earlier on. So you get Donnie saying, I think it's a cyborg. Now, if you've been with Donnie that much, there's a big chance that he's got to say stuff that would stick in the back of your brains, and it's not until you're in that situation. I apologise, I'm doing a lot of hand movements because I'm standing, like I said, so apologies if this is a bit of a weird video. I've not videoed in a while, and I'm really tired. Last night was bonfire night for us, so that's a night where people are allowed to light fires and fireworks because they're legal in this country, unfortunately. So I was out all last night with my job, and let's just say that people don't like when you put their bonfires out, so unfortunately there was a few attacks with fireworks and that's all. My head's a bit of a mess. I do apologise, guys. Right, so back into what I was saying. This is going to be a terrible video. I really do apologise, but I had to make it before it got too late, and this is the only 1 hour I have to make it. So let's stop talking about me and get back to the turtles. So there was another part where you kind of have, again, what I thought was Raph speaking. Now, it does say we've been in this situation before, and you could just tell by his mannerisms and the way he was being that it was Raph that was dead. So again, that ticked off another one, and there was a couple of things that kind of ticked off the last turtle it is. Now, I'll try and not spoil which turtle it is, because I've only left 2 now. So, gets into the city, he steals a motorbike. Now, it's kind of a cool looking motorbike, very, very Casey Jones style. Funnily enough, when the person comes out, you have this sort of steampunk girl, as folk are explaining her, because that's, like I said, it's a futuristic world. And someone actually says, your bike's gone, Jones. Now, there's a big chance that when I first read that, I was like, well, it's got to be Casey's daughter, maybe Casey and April's. Later on in the comic, we do kind of get to that point. So he gets that bike, and he just generally, to get into this building, he doesn't sneak in, put it that way. He just doesn't sneak in. He's blowing stuff up to get his catapulted into it. He's not been stealthy at all. And to be honest, this is where it started to get a bit like, I think I know which turtle this is. So he finally gets in, he meets the folk I just spoke about earlier. So I'm trying to do this properly without, I'm one of these people, I don't like a video that tells you exactly what happened all the way through the comic, but I'm kind of doing that now, so I do apologise like 50 million times now in this video. I don't even know what I'm apologising for anymore, I'll just do it. Anyway, so he gets in, we meet these cyborgs, we also have some Baxters, like completely different creations, to be honest, which again you'd expect because it's futuristic. There was no, I don't really know if Baxter is still going to be alive in some sort of way. We don't really know. It's a confusing one to be. He kind of doesn't really have a good, I wouldn't say a good fighting style, but again, this is kind of what pushes me towards what turtle it was. It's one of these things where I didn't get the badass feeling that I thought I was going to get. I kind of had before this book came out, I thought, you know what, this is going to be some like hardened turtle. They never really went for that. They went for the more still dealing with the issues, still getting over his past trauma of losing his brothers, still not really 100%, but for some reason, I don't know if it's anniversary, the death or whatever, he's determined that he's taking this guy down. So we finally find out who the real bad guy is. Now, he is referred to the so-called leader of the Foot Clan, and he's also, and they emphasise the word bastard grandson of Shredder. Now, does that mean that this is somehow, like, going by the Mirage thing, there's a chance that this could actually be Casey's other kid, which would be fucking hilarious. I'm a huge Casey fan, and I would love it if it just turned out he had these bunch of kids just littered across the place, and that one of them's a complete arsehole. But he didn't, as much as we feel this new leader is their leader because he's definitely putting out the orders, you didn't really get a feeling that he's a fighter. He seems pretty badass offering, telling them that he wants to execute this turtle live to make an example. So he's in control of a lot. I don't know if he's just in control of this city and it's the only city, or what's really going on there, or if he's more in control of multiple cities and this is just the main one. We don't know. They do mention that there's people living underneath them, which is kind of, I like that idea because again, the turtles were already underneath in the sewers originally, but now it's kind of sounding like there might be a sort of rebellion, which really reminded me of a film. I'm blanking the film. I had it in my head before I started recording to the film. It's going to annoy the hell out of me. It was one that we all talked about when the toilet paper ran out. Why the hell, man? Demolition Man. So, finally, that would have annoyed me all video if I hadn't got that. And remind me of that where you've got the sort of rebels underneath and this fancy world on top. So it's cool. I'm really liking it. It's got nods to other stuff outside of the Turtles, which the Turtles has always had, which I really, really enjoyed. It kind of gets a battle and it's it doesn't go well for him. There's actually a point where they say, I think your luck, his brothers say, I think your luck's running out, or he ran out of miracles, which really was starting to happen here. Now, like I say, I don't want to ruin too much here. It is one of these things I want you to read it and find out some of the information yourself. Pretty much the best way to explain it is he gets his ass kicked. Completely gets his ass kicked. At this point, he's actually found by the Jones character. And when she finds him, she does say, fuck, it's a turtle, or holy shit, it's a turtle. Next minute, this turtle's waking up in a bed in the sewers, kind of getting healed up. Obviously, they've bandaged him up, cleaned him up a bit, and he opens his eyes to April. So this is what makes me think this has got to be Casey Jones and April's daughter, because she does have that link. It's not properly been answered. It's a typical Laird and Eastman thing, is they don't really answer much, they keep us guessing, and I love it because even though we've had the first issue, there's a lot of speculation around it. Even this last part, so she says to him, who are you talking to? Because at the point he's talking to his brothers and he's kind of reminiscing, and it's generally like last legs sort of spiel going on, until he comes to, and when he comes to, he sees April and she says, who are you speaking to? Michelangelo. So there we have it. The last Ronin is Mikey. So I was wrong. I knew I'd be wrong. I did say I was probably wrong. Which is fine. I mean, I would have been happy with any of the turtles being the last one. I just love turtles anyway. And Mikey is my favourite turtle. This is where it's getting confusing and the speculation's coming back. And again, I love it, absolutely love it, is the way that they wrote it out. They've deliberately wrote it out so it can be seen as he's saying, who were you speaking to? Mikey. Not who were you speaking to, Mikey. So a lot of people are thinking, were you speaking to Michelangelo, is essentially what she was asking. But for me, that's just a bit too weird. Like, why would you say to this turtle, like, you're talking to Mikey? It just, because he was speaking to Oz Brothers at one point. I mean, it's, look, like I said, it's a misdirect. I think it's 100% a misdirect. And I love it because it's, for me and other shellheads, this is the first time in years when people who aren't into turtles are actually coming to speak about a Turtles book and really being excited about it. Now, that's pretty much my spoiler and non-spoiler review of this book. Is, in my eyes, a 9 out of 10. There's not much I would have changed in it, other than the fact I would have made it Donnie so that I was right, because I want to be right all the time, because doesn't everyone? But unfortunately, it was Mikey, so I wasn't right. But like I said, that's not a bad thing. So I definitely give this book a 9 out of 10. There really isn't much I'd change about it. I know some people probably will argue that, but hey, we've all got our own opinions. And if you do have a different opinion on it, or you feel I've left something out, which I'm not want to cover too much, I do want you to go and find out some of your own information. Please either write in the comments to talk about it, DM me on Instagram, which I'll put up somewhere. But yeah, so pick this book up if you haven't already. I will use this to plug the fact that you should be picking up the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles IDW run if you're not. And it's not tied in with this, but it's an absolutely brilliant run. You can buy the collections, which I actually have over there, the big hardbacks, as well as single issues. The collections were getting quite hard to find at one point, so if you can't find a certain one, don't buy for silly prices. I've been saying that to many people. Don't buy it for silly prices, especially pre-owned, because a lot of time they come damaged. Just hold off. I can assure you IDW will be making these continuously. You just won't get the first print, second prints or whatever, but they're definitely worth picking up. Even if you can start picking up the singles. Very, very good run. Anyway guys, I've kind of yammered on, apologised, spoke about me more than the turtles probably, which I do apologise for, because I apologise about apologising, eh? See, I'm good at that. But yeah, thanks for watching the video guys, and keep checking back, and eventually, some point, probably next year, by the time my second Wayne's here, I will make that second video all about Turtle Mania. By then, the whole Turtle Mania might have disappeared, but I can at least talk about how we felt that time this year.